You know that feeling? Your heart starts pounding, maybe your palms get sweaty, your voice even feels a bit shaky.
Oh, yeah. The classic public speaking jitters.
Exactly. It happens to pretty much everyone. But here's something fascinating. Research from Harvard suggests that uh, this fear, it's mostly conquerable.
Right. They found something like 93% of what makes a really great speaker is actually stuff you can learn. It's
Mm.
not just, innate talent.
93%. That's huge. So whether you're prepping for a big pitch, a team presentation, or maybe just a toast at a wedding,
Uh,
this deep dive is definitely for you. We've looked into the research, especially techniques used by folks like TED speakers, and pulled out a five-step system.
yeah, the idea is to help turn that anxiety into, well, actual presence, real engagement.
So today, we'll first dig into why our brains kind of freak out in these situations.
Understanding the panic response is key, yeah.
And then we'll walk through this practical five-step speakers boot camp we mentioned. Actionable stuff.
Exactly. Tools you can use right away to feel more in control and really connect with your audience.
Okay, let's start with that panic. Why does our body go into overdrive when we're just, standing in front of people? There's no actual lion chasing us.
Right. Well, the research points to a little part of the brain called the amygdala. It's like the brain's alarm system,
The amygdala, okay.
and it can basically hijack your whole system.
Yeah.
It triggers that old primal fight or flight
Mm.
response, even when the threat is just an audience.
So my brain thinks the quarterly results meeting is a saber-toothed tiger.
Sort of, yeah. On a physiological level, the reaction is surprisingly similar. And when that hijack happens,
Uh-huh.
it impacts the part of your brain you need for clear thinking, the prefrontal cortex.
Ah, so that's why your mind goes blank sometimes.
Precisely.
Mm.
The research shows it tends to get, well, suppressed.
Right.
It makes it harder to access all that stuff you prepared so carefully.
Even if you know it backwards and forwards.
Exactly. The panic response just blocks the access route temporarily.
And it's physical too, right? Like that tight feeling in your throat or the voice trembling.
Oh, absolutely. That's also tied into these ancient survival mechanisms. Think about it. If a predator was near, you wouldn't want to make noise, right?
Huh. So your vocal cords tighten up
Ah,
instinctively.
that seems to be the idea, yeah.
Yeah.
What we feel is stage fright is often this really deep-seated instinct just popping up at, let's face it, the worst possible time.
Okay, so the first step is just understanding this is happening. It's a biological thing.
Right. And the good news, as the research suggests, is that we can learn to work with our nervous system. We can sort of hack it.
Hack the system. I like the sound of that.
It's about sending signals to your brain that say, hey, we're actually safe here, even when you feel that initial wave of nerves.
Okay, perfect segue into part 2, the 5-step speakers boot camp. Step 1 you called the 90-second reset.
Mhm.
What's the logic there? 90 seconds.
Yeah, it's based on neuroscience. Research indicates that the actual chemical surge of adrenaline, that intense rush,
Mm.
it often peaks and starts to fade within about 90 seconds, unless we fuel it with more anxious thoughts.
Ah, so you've got a short window to intervene.
Exactly. The trick is to use that time, maybe backstage or just before you start, to consciously signal safety to your brain. The research points to 3 really effective ways to do this.
Okay, lay them on us. What can we actually do in those 90 seconds?
All right, first up, power posing. You might have heard of this.
Yeah, stand like Superman for a bit.
Kind of. The research mentions a potential boost in testosterone, maybe around 20%, just from adopting these open, confident postures for a minute or two. Standing tall, shoulders back,
Mm-hmm.
it can actually change your body chemistry slightly.
Interesting. Okay, what else?
Second is the 4-7-8 breathing technique. It's pretty specific.
How does that work?
You breathe in quietly through your nose for a count of 4, then you hold your breath for a count of 7, and then you exhale completely through your mouth, making a whoosh sound for a count of 8.
4, 7,
Yeah.
8. Okay.
Doing that a few times directly stimulates the vagus nerve. That's a major player in calming your nervous system down, counteracting that fight or flight we talked about.
Right, hitting the reset button. And the third technique.
Super simple. Grounding your feet. Just consciously focus on the sensation of your feet flat on the floor.
Just feeling your feet.
Yeah. It sounds basic, but it pulls your attention out of those racing thoughts and into your physical body right here, right now. It anchors you.
So these are like little mental tricks or biohacks to use right before showtime.
Pretty much. You're essentially telling your brain, false alarm, we're okay, even if you still feel some butterflies.
Gently coaxing the brain out of panic mode.
You got it. Down regulating that threat response.
All right, step 2, the story grid. We all know stories are good, but the research really doubles down on their power, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. There's that famous Stanford study showing stories are remembered up to 22 times more effectively than just facts alone.
22 times. That's
Mhm.
wow.
It's a massive difference. Stories just stick in our brains differently. And the research suggests a specific structure, a four-part grid, for making them really impactful.
Okay, let's map out this grid. What are the four parts?
It starts with a hook, something right at the beginning to grab attention. Could be a surprising question, a startling statistic,
Hmm.
something unexpected.
Get them leaning in immediately. Okay.
Then comes the conflict. You introduce a problem, a challenge, something relatable that the audience can connect with. This builds empathy.
Makes sense.
The climax.
Yeah.
This is where you deliver the core insight, the turning point, the main message wrapped up in the story's peak moment.
The aha moment.
Exactly. And finally, the resolution. You wrap things up, provide closure, and crucially, include a clear call to action. What do you want people to do or think now?
So it's not just telling any old tale, it's structured for impact. And there's something about brain synchronization, too.
Yeah, this is fascinating. When you tell a compelling story using this kind of structure, the listener's brains can actually start to sync up with yours.
Like, their brain waves match mine.
On some level, yes. The patterns of neural activity become similar. It creates this incredibly deep sense of connection and shared understanding. It's powerful stuff.
That is amazing. Okay, step 3 is the 3V technique. Sounds technical.
It's based on some well-known UCLA studies about communication impact. They broke down how we make an impression.
And the breakdown is surprising, right?
Very. So verbal, the actual words you say, that accounts for only about 7% of the perceived impact.
Just 7%. For all the time we spend agonizing over wording.
I know. Then there's vocal, your tone, your pace, how you use your voice. It's a much bigger chunk, around 38%.
Okay, tone matters.
A lot. And the biggest, visual.
Yeah.
Your body language, eye contact, facial expressions, just your overall physical presence. That's a whopping 55%.
Wow. So how we say it and how we look saying it is vastly more important than the words themselves.
In terms of initial impact and connection, yes. The content still matters, of course, but these other elements are crucial for delivery.
So how do we use this 3V knowledge practically?
The research offers a neat rehearsal strategy. When you're practicing,
Uh-huh.
consciously exaggerate all three V's. Use really clear articulation, verbal, lots of vocal variety, pitch, volume, pauses, vocal, and bigger, more expressive gestures and movements, visual.
Go over the top in rehearsal.
Exactly. Then, when it's time for the actual talk, consciously dial it all back by about, say, 20%.
Ah, I see. So you've practiced with extra energy, meaning your normal delivery still feels dynamic and engaging, not flat.
Precisely. It prevents you from looking stiff or sounding monotone because your baseline was higher. You end up in a natural but expressive zone.
That's a great tip. Okay, step 4, audience hypnosis. Sounds a bit spooky. Are we talking swinging pocket watches?
Huh? No, nothing like that. It's really about creating a shared state of focus, getting everyone collectively zoned in on your message.
Okay, creating collective focus. How do we do that without hypnosis?
Well, the research highlights a few key techniques.
Hmm.
One is using strategic pauses.
Pausing. How does that hypnotize?
It doesn't, literally. But pausing just before you deliver a really important point builds anticipation. It draws people in, makes them hang on your next words. Silence can be really powerful.
Okay, use the pregnant pause. What else?
Mirroring the audience's energy initially. If they seem low-key, you start there too.
Yeah.
But then
Then you ramp it up.
gently, you subtly guide their energy level upwards with your own enthusiasm and delivery. You lead them.
Right. And the third technique.
Planting physical reactions.
Well-
Things like asking, raise your hand if, or nod if you agree.
Getting them physically involved.
Exactly. It breaks passive listening, creates interaction, and again, fosters that shared experience.
And this ties back to the brain again, I assume.
It does. These techniques, especially things like mirroring and shared actions, tend to activate what are called mirror neurons in the audience.
Mirror neurons.
Yeah, these brain cells fire both when we do an action and when we see someone else do it. It helps create empathy, connection, and that feeling of being in sync with the speaker.
So you're essentially getting their brains to connect with yours on a deeper level through these techniques.
That's the idea, creating neurological engagement.
This is all so practical. Okay, final step in the boot camp, step 5. The imperfection advantage. This feels counterintuitive. Shouldn't we aim for perfection?
Well, that's what most of us think. But research from the University of Chicago suggests something different. They found audiences actually tend to trust speakers more when they seem well, human, a
Yeah.
little bit imperfect.
Really? So being too polished can backfire.
It sometimes can, yeah. It might create a sense of distance, make you seem less relatable or authentic.
So how does showing imperfection actually build trust? What kind of imperfections are we talking about?
Small things, handled well. Like if you slightly stumble over a word but recover smoothly,
Mm-hmm.
it shows you're real, not a robot. It can actually be endearing. Or admitting you don't know something.
Instead of bluffing.
Exactly, saying something like, that's a great point. What I don't know yet is X, but I can find out. That shows honesty and intellectual humility.
Okay. And recovering from mistakes.
Gracefully recovering from a minor slip-up, maybe you lose your place for a second, demonstrates resilience and composure under pressure. People respect that.
So it's about authenticity. Being human makes you more credible, not less.
That's a great way to put it. Humanity is a key component of credibility. Connection over perfection.
Okay, that covers the 5 steps. But you mentioned some pro speaker hacks too, kind of like behind the scenes secrets.
Yeah, just a few extra practical tips that seasoned speakers often use.
Give us a couple.
Okay, one is the water bottle trick. Seems obvious, but taking the small sip of water right before you start can moisten your vocal cords and combat that dry mouth feeling.
Simple, but makes sense.
Another is finding your front row allies. Before you start, scan the audience and pick out maybe 3 people who look friendly or engaged.
And just make eye contact with them.
Make them your anchors. Making periodic eye contact with these friendly faces can give you little bursts of connection and support, especially if you feel nervous.
Like having mini cheerleaders.
Sort of. And a final one. Have a quick post-talk ritual. Even just taking 30 seconds to mentally note or quickly jot down 1 or 2 things that went well.
Why do that?
It helps reinforce the positive aspects in your brain. It's a form of neural reinforcement, building your confidence for next time, rather than just dwelling on any perceived flaws.
Those are great, very actionable hacks. And again, it all seems to reinforce the main message, doesn't it? It's about connecting, not being flawless.
Absolutely. Connection really is the core goal.
So for listeners who are thinking, okay, I want to do this, I want to put this into practice, the research also mentioned a specific challenge, right?
Yes, a 21-day speaker challenge.
Yeah.
It's designed to build momentum and make these techniques habitual.
How does it work? What do you do for 21 days?
It involves a few key things. First, recording yourself speaking for just 1 minute every day. Use your phone camera.
Just a minute.
Yep, short and sweet. It gets you used to the act of speaking and, importantly, seeing and hearing yourself. Second, it suggests joining some kind of online speaking group or circle.
For feedback and support.
Exactly. Practicing in a safe space with others who get it. And third, gradually increasing your audience's size as you get more comfortable, maybe starting with just the camera, then one friend, then a small group.
Taking small, manageable steps outside the comfort zone.
That's the principle. Consistent, incremental practice.
It sounds like a solid plan for building real confidence. And wasn't there a call to action in the source material for people ready to commit?
There was, yeah. A simple invitation. If you're ready to take on this challenge and start transforming your speaking, just comment, I speak.
I speak. A public declaration.
Kind of a commitment device, yeah. A way to signal to yourself and maybe others that you're taking this step.
Great. So if you're listening and feeling inspired, maybe consider making that commitment. And just to wrap up, what's the final thought we should leave people with?
I think it comes back to that core idea we've touched on.
Connection over perfection.
Yeah. Remember, the world genuinely needs your voice, not a perfect, polished, robotic voice, but your real voice, sharing your unique perspective and experiences. That's what truly connects.